And anything that she wanted, she would get because she had all that leverage. Plus, she would say, hey, if you want to have an intimate moment with me, you need to buy me this extra. Maybe you haven't experienced this, but some women will do this. And I'm not hating women. It's just when she has all the leverage in the relationship, she might use this against you. If you want to have an intimate time with me, you're going to have to invest more. You're going to have to buy me more things and so on. And that's how guys end up spending like millions of dollars on a woman. And at the end, they get wrecked. And I don't want you to get wrecked.
Welcome to Manosphere Highlights Daily. In today's video, we dive into the insights shared by the wealthy expat as he reflects on the brutal lessons from his $300,000 divorce. This video captures the essence of the manosphere, where men share their experiences, thoughts, and ideas online. Now, while wealthy expat isn't part of the manosphere or the red pill community, he will share valuable information that men have been discussing in this space for decades. So, I want to pose a question to everyone watching. After you see wealthy expat discuss his lessons from divorce, do you think he's a misogynist? Let us know in the comments. Wealthy expat, salute! Let's talk about it. Now it's time for us to get into this and do what we gotta do. Because we men, ain't we? We men, ain't we?
These are the best lessons that I learned from my $300,000 divorce with my Ukrainian ex-wife. A lot of people have told me, maybe you chose the wrong woman, maybe you should have checked for her red flags, maybe you should have had a better hiring process when it comes to your wife. But I think regardless of who you pick, obviously we all want to have a family, maybe you don't, but I do, certainly. Have a family, have kids, have this life that we all dream about. And when you're heading towards that, when you're working on it, you have to keep a lot of other things in mind, which are the lessons that I'm going to tell you, because you might fall in love with that person and disregard all the asset protection, all the legal sides of being in marriage or even cohabitation or having kids, because a lot of you don't want to be married. I probably won't get married again, to be honest, because it's just legally, it's one of the worst things you can do if you're a wealthy man. But if you're going to live with a woman, if you're going to have kids with a woman, then you still have some legal repercussions, specifically if you have children, right? So she could take the children away, use them for ransom, for your wealth, or overall the legal system is against the man, depending on the country where you live. So I'll tell you the lessons that I learned. I lost over $300,000, as I said, with my divorce. Obviously, a lot of time, obviously a lot of mental damage, and overall affected my business, my growth, and everything.
Before we get into the first lesson, did you catch what he said about mental damage? Check this out. Men are twice as likely to suffer depression as a result of divorce than women. When we talk about protecting yourself at all times, it's not just about your time, money, and energy. It includes your mental and physical well-being. Please take these lessons about marriage and divorce seriously. Your life is at stake.
The first thing is that everything I bought before, during, every time in the marriage, I bought it in my name. And this is something that people don't think about. Maybe you're going to buy a car and you want to buy it fast. Maybe you made some money in crypto or something. You buy it in your name and done. What I would recommend is before you buy anything large, properties, anything that is luxurious, land, cars, whatever, before buying it, look at what structure you can set up to buy that piece of land, that property, that is not in your name. Because if you buy a car in your name, now it's in your name, it's registered in the government system, and now your ex-wife or your wife could potentially take it away from you, or it could be split, or you would have to sell that car and then split the profits 50-50 between you and your wife, because that's how it works in your particular country. And this is regardless of where you live. Because you might say, oh, just move out of Western countries. Yeah, but in some countries, for example, let's say you're from the US and you move to Dubai, and you get married and you move your wife to the UAE, now you're both residents of the UAE. So essentially you're both living in Dubai, you both have a residency permit in the UAE. She could file for divorce in the UAE and still use US law against you. So regardless of what country you're getting married, regardless of what country you're moving to, you want to keep this in mind.
Do you guys remember the Hakimi's mom rule? Ashraf Hakimi's ex-wife couldn't get anything from him because all his assets were in his mom's name. So technically, his assets belonged to his mom, and Ashraf didn't own anything. This infuriated many women, including his ex-wife, who ended up suing him for fraud, demanding 11 million euros.
And that's why I talk about Cook Islands Trust, or having a trust, so much, because yes, it's a high price point. You're going to pay maybe $40,000, $50,000 to set up a trust in the Cook Islands, the jurisdiction that I recommend. But then that trust could own the properties, could own the car, could own everything. And a trust in the Cook Islands can pretty much own any piece of real estate or anything anywhere in the world. It's going to take longer. It's going to be a bit harder to do it. You're not going to buy a car in 2 days. In some cases, you can do it. And if it's in your personal name, you can buy it in 1 or 2 days. If it's under a trust, it might take a week, it might take 2 weeks, but it's a small amount of time to then prepare for lifetime, essentially. And this is not about trust. It's not about trusting your wife. It's not about finding somebody that you trust. Your wife could always turn back and use the legal system against you. Things can go south. You might cheat on her. You might do anything stupid, whatever it is. It's not about trust. It's not about finding the good woman. It's not about picking the right person. It's none of that. It's about protecting your assets, protecting yourself legally in case everything goes to shit in the long term.
This is what the true red pill vitamins are all about, guys. Seeing the world as it truly is. If you're gonna get married or deal with women, you have to understand the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. If you do a SWOT analysis every time, you will conclude it's foolishness for a man to get married. Wealthy Expat has already stated he'll never get married again. Why? Because he has much more to lose than to gain from it. It's a simple cost-benefit analysis.
So what I would have done back then, I wish somebody would have told me this face to face and would have said, if you're going to buy all that stuff in Ukraine, the place where you're married, where the woman is a citizen of that country, regardless of where she's a citizen from, you're living in that place, set up a trust, and then with that trust, then buy the properties and buy the cars. And also, don't buy things in her name. This is what I did. I bought a property in her name because also what I would recommend is don't get into business with a woman and don't have financial decisions based on your woman. She wanted to invest in real estate in a specific region of Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine, and she was really obsessed about this region, and I thought, I want to make her happy, I want her to be satisfied with me, happy wife, happy life, and all that, and I bought that property in her name. Obviously, when she filed for divorce, that property was automatically hers, and I couldn't do anything about it. Even with the best lawyer in Ukraine, nobody cared because the property was in her name. So also, careful about buying assets under your wife's name. You might do this because you're in love. You might do this because maybe you haven't had sex in 1 or 2 weeks and she's using this against you. Sometimes it happens. You want to be very careful.
This is pure gold. We hear it all the time from the Patreon gang and our subscribers. I wish someone would have told me, or I wish I had this information when I was in my early 20s. But the truth is, even if someone had told you back then, it's tough to fully absorb without having gone through it yourself. It's hard to walk away from something when you don't even know what it truly is. That's why people often learn the hard way, because they play with fire and don't understand the burn until they felt it. So, shout out to the men, especially young men, who have managed to stay out of trouble thanks to the insights shared in this space. Salute! This is why the Manosphere isn't going anywhere. The information shared by men is invaluable. Stop thinking with your little head when it comes to women. Use your big head.
Something else that I didn't do, another lesson, is I didn't hire any lawyers and I didn't properly study divorce, child custody law, separation law, anything like that. What you want to do, regardless of who you marry, where you marry them, you want to study divorce law, you want to study child custody law, you want to hire a lawyer, you want to hire multiple lawyers to advise you. And what you can do, which I would recommend, is to book a consultation, a paid consultation, because now you're in a client relationship with that lawyer and your wife can't hire the same lawyer as you. So what I would recommend, get the absolute best lawyer in your city or country and then pay them a price for a consultation. Maybe it's $100, maybe it's $200, maybe it's $1,000. Lawyers all over the world are much cheaper than they are in the United States or in the UK, for example. So a US lawyer might charge you $5,000, where a lawyer in the UAE or a lawyer in Europe or anywhere might charge you $200 for a consultation. And what you want to do, you want to have this consultation, you want to maybe sign an agreement, even though you're not paying them a retainer or anything, you're at least creating that client relationship so that your wife can't use the same lawyer as you. And you want to study divorce law and you want to study child custody law.
You see, a lot of men are ignorant about this topic because it's not just overlooked in households or schools, it's ignored by society at large. No one teaches men how to navigate these complexities, not in media, not in culture, and certainly not in the legal system. That's exactly why spaces like this one are labeled as toxic, because we dare to tell men the uncomfortable truth that no one else will. We empower men to protect themselves from manipulation, exploitation, or being taken to the cleaners. Opting out isn't an act of bitterness. It's an educated decision. Once you truly grasp how this system is designed and understand the risks, the smartest move is not to participate at all. It's about being strategic, not naive.
If anything goes south, I'm a big proponent of caring for your children, spending money on your children, supporting your children, of course. But she might use that against you. The child might need $2,000 a month, but she's asking for $50,000 a month because she knows you make $1 million a month. And on a percentage basis, 50,000 to $1 million is only 5%. And because you have so many investments, so many things, so many companies in your name, you're moving so much money through your personal accounts in that country, she can now use that against you. And those $50,000, even though the child realistically only needs $2,000, she can use that to buy her Louis Vuitton purses. And this is not about hating women. This is not about, I'm not bitter. I'm only 27. I'm not a bitter man. This is just, I've experienced some things and I don't want you to go through them because this can hurt. This can really F up your entire life if you let it.
You see what he just did here? He's repeating the same shaming tactics used against men who choose to protect themselves from real destructive issues. But here's the truth. You don't have to hate women or be bitter to make smart decisions about your own well-being. We don't hate women. We simply refuse to sugarcoat reality when it comes to female nature. And that's exactly why our videos aren't for everyone. We keep dropping those red pill truth bombs. We don't hesitate to tell you women are agents of chaos. Women act like parasites. Now I know some people will get triggered by that, but check the definitions for yourself. A parasite is a person who uses others to obtain an advantage without offering anything in return. Sounds familiar? A woman demanding $50,000 in child support for kids that don't cost anywhere near that, that's parasitic behavior. It happens all the time. Women taking ridiculous amounts of alimony and child support. Why? Because that's female nature. It revolves around securing resources and they're often programmed to do it by any means necessary. And that's the uncomfortable truth that most people aren't ready to hear.
What I would also say is I got residency in Ukraine based on my ex-wife. This is something that I wouldn't do ever again, is moving to a country where your immigration and residency status depends on your wife or your girlfriend or anything. A lot of people do this. They move to a certain country, their wife is from that country, so they get a family residency permit. No, because now she has leverage over you. She can use that against you. If things go south, she can say, I'm going to call immigration, I'm going to get you deported. This has happened. And you're always dependent on that person. You don't want that leverage over you because she can use that leverage over you to then get money, to then get assets, to then get anything. There's also some psychological plays. I will never do that again. If I'm moving to a country with a woman because her family's from there, because we're going to have kids there, because anything, I am going to get residency by myself. Either there's a golden visa, or I can set up a business, or I can have some contact there that can give me residency or hire me, anything, but not through a woman. I highly recommend you. I know this might sound stupid. I know it's an easy way to get residency somewhere, just marry someone, but now they have leverage over you. That might push you to get married actually. So you might say, oh, I'm never getting married again. And then you meet a beautiful woman and she's from Czech Republic or whatever, and you want to move there with her to be with her family and to raise kids and so on. And now you decide, okay, let's get married because that's the easiest way to get a residency permit, and then you are effed. So don't do that. Then other things is that I invested way too much in my ex-wife. If your wife is consistently asking you, oh, please buy me this, buy me that, buy me this luxurious thing, buy me this, buy me that, buy me this, buy me that, that then gets you into a loop of buying things for her. And that's how she got me to buy property in her name at the end. So you want to be aware of this. I'm not hating women. I'm not saying you shouldn't invest into a woman, but the more you invest, the more she expects more investment and more and more and more. So buy me the Birkin, and then buy me a car, and then buy me some real estate, and then buy me multiple pieces of real estate, and then it just keeps compounding. So you want to keep that in mind. It's all psychological plays, and you want to be very careful.
Givers need to set limits because takers have none. Don't lead with your wallet, guys. Women love money. And if you look at the books we've reviewed, including The Manipulated Man by Esther Vilar, you'll see that many women openly discuss how relationships are often viewed as business transactions. This is why men need to approach relationships with the same mindset. Buying a woman a Birkin bag, that's one of the dumbest investments a man can make because you don't build equity with women. Once the high of the Birkin fades and the next trend blows up on TikTok, she'll expect you to buy that too. If you don't, suddenly you're not a good husband. You don't treat her right, or worse, you're abusive. If that's how she feels. Why? Because she's measuring the value of the relationship by material goods and the validation she gets on social media. Always ask yourself, what's the added value of bringing a woman into your life? Are you truly gaining something that benefits you, or are you just giving and getting nothing in return?
And the last thing that I will say is that she used her beauty and her sexual appeal against me because she had leverage over me. So imagine all the leverage that this woman had over me. I moved on a visa for marriage. So I moved to Ukraine based on a visa for marriage. So one, she had the immigration leverage. Then she had, because I was buying so many things on her name, because I was buying so many things for her, then she had the asset leverage. I also was buying everything in my name, all the property, all the cars and everything. So then she had the, we're gonna get divorced and I'm gonna take half your assets leverage. She had so much leverage on the relationship. And anything that she wanted, she would get because she had all that leverage. Plus she would say, hey, if you wanna have an intimate moment with me, you need to buy me this extra. Maybe you haven't experienced this, but some women will do this. And I'm not hating women. It's just when she has all the leverage in the relationship, she might use this against you. If you want to have an intimate time with me, you're going to have to invest more. You're going to have to buy me more things and so on. And that's how guys end up spending like millions of dollars on a woman. And at the end, they get wrecked. And I don't want you to get wrecked.
Now, to get back to my question at the start of the video, do you think Wealthy Expat is a misogynist after hearing him share this information? Or do you see him as a man who's learned valuable lessons the hard way and is now sharing that wisdom to help others avoid similar pitfalls? It's crucial to distinguish between constructive criticism of female behavior and outright hatred. Remember, this isn't just about calling out women, it's about empowering men to take control of their lives and choices. By sharing these truths, we challenge societal norms that often leave men vulnerable. So, let me see your thoughts in the comments. Manosphere, we working. Protect yourself at all times. This video has officially been highlighted.